Before we begin, if this story moves you, please hit that like button and subscribe to stay updated with more powerful true life stories. Your support means everything. Now let me take you back to the worst night of my life. The rain hit my windshield like bullets. I couldn't see, couldn't think, couldn't breathe through the sobs tearing out of my chest. My phone kept buzzing in the cup holder, David's name flashing over and over, 23 missed calls in the last hour. I knew what he'd found. I knew what he was going to do. "You're with her, aren't you?" His voice, when I'd finally answered, had been ice. Not anger. Worse than anger. That cold, dead certainty of a man whose worst suspicions had just been confirmed. "David, please." Just don't, Elena. I found the messages. All of them. 2 years. 2 years you've been lying to me." My hands shook on the steering wheel. Highway 99 stretched endless through the Central Valley darkness, nothing but farmland and rain and the red blur of taillights ahead. I shouldn't have been driving. I'd had 2 glasses of wine at the restaurant, not enough to be drunk, but enough that my judgment was clouded enough that when David called, I'd panicked and left too fast. I was driving to Issa's apartment in Fresno. To end it. To tell her we couldn't do this anymore, that I had to choose my son, that I was sorry that I loved her. But my phone buzzed again. I glanced down for just a second. Just 1 second. When I looked up, he was there. A man. Standing in the middle of the highway, in the rain. Like he'd appeared out of nowhere. I screamed, slammed the brakes, the car hydroplane tires shrieking on wet asphalt. I jerked the wheel. Too hard. Too late. The impact was a sound I'll never forget. A wet, horrible crunch. Then silence. Just the rain and my own breathing high and panicked. I sat, frozen hands white-knuckled on the wheel. My door was open when had I opened it. I was stumbling out into the rain, legs shaking so badly I almost fell. He was 20 feet behind my car. Crumpled. Not moving. "Oh God! Oh God! Oh God!" I ran to him. Fell to my knees in the road rain soaking through my jeans. Blood, there was so much blood mixing with rainwater running into the gutter. His face was turned away. I reached for his neck, trying to remember CPR, trying to find a pulse, but my hands were shaking too badly. "Please, please wake up. Please don't be dead. Please." Headlights. A truck pulled over, hazards flashing. A man's voice. "I called 911, don't move him." Sirens in the distance, getting closer. I looked down at my hands. Blood. His blood. Rain washing it away, but not fast enough. Never fast enough. The police arrived, then the ambulance. They pulled me away from him, made me sit on the wet curb while they worked. I watched them check for vitals. Watched them look at each other and shake their heads. Dead on arrival. A police officer crouched in front of me. Young. Latino. His voice was gentle. "Ma'am, I need you to look at me. Can you tell me your name?" "Elena. Elena Vasquez." "Elena, have you been drinking tonight?" I couldn't lie. The wine was still on my breath. "Yes. 2 glasses. At dinner. But I didn't feel drunk. He was in the road. He just appeared. We're going to need you to take a breathalyzer test." I blew into the device. The officer's face went carefully neutral. .09, you're over the legal limit." The world tilted. "I need you to turn around and put your hands behind your back." "Wait, no, I have a son. He's 5 years old." "Please. I didn't mean to." Cold metal around my wrists. The click of handcuffs. "Elena Vasquez, you're under arrest for driving under the influence causing death. You have the right to remain silent." I don't remember the rest. I remember the rain. I remember the blood on my hands. I remember thinking Mateo. My baby. What have I done? Valley State Prison for Women smelled like industrial cleaner and something else. Something heavy and sad that soaked into your skin no matter how many times you showered. After 9 years, I'd stopped noticing. Until today. Today, walking through those gates for the last time, the smell lifted. Like breaking the surface of water after being held under too long. I stood on the sidewalk outside the prison, holding everything I owned in a clear plastic bag, 3 pairs of underwear, 2 worn t-shirts, a pair of jeans that didn't fit anymore, and a photograph of Mateo at age 4, the last picture I had before I went in. He was holding a toy truck, grinning with his 2 front teeth missing. In my pocket, $200 in gate money and a bus ticket to Fresno. On my wrist, an ankle monitor. Because I wasn't free. Not really. Just differently imprisoned. The sky was huge. I'd forgotten how big the sky was. Inside you saw it through wire mesh, through narrow windows broken into pieces. Out here it stretched forever blue and endless and terrifying. A car pulled up. Not for me. Just someone else's release day, someone else's family crying and hugging and promising it would all be okay now. I watched them drive away, the woman's face pressed against the window, drinking in the sight of the world. No one was coming for me. I walked to the bus stop, sat on the bench, and waited. The ankle monitor felt heavy. My parole officer, Linda Ortega, had made it very clear during our last meeting. You have 21 days to find employment. You must check in every Tuesday and Friday at 9 a.m. No alcohol, random breathalyzer tests, no contact with the victim's family. Any violation and you're back inside. Understood. Understood. The bus came. I climbed on paid with crumpled bills and found a seat in the back. The other passengers didn't look at me. They never did. You could tell who'd just gotten out. We moved differently, talked differently, wore our freedom-like clothes that didn't quite fit. Fresno was 2 hours away. I spent them staring out the window, watching farmland blur past, trying to remember what I was supposed to feel. Relief, gratitude, fear, all I felt was empty. Redemption House sat on the edge of Fresno's industrial district, a sagging Victorian painted institutional beige, surrounded by warehouses and chain-link fences. The sign out front was hand-painted, "Second chances start here." I stood on the sidewalk, my plastic bag clutched to my chest, and thought, this is home now. A woman opened the front door before I could knock. She was tall, black, maybe late 40s, with gray-streaked hair pulled back in a tight bun. Her eyes were sharp, but not unkind. Elena Vasquez. Yes, ma'am. I'm Keisha Williams, house manager. Come on in before you melt out there. The heat was brutal Central California in July, dry and suffocating. Inside was only marginally cooler. The house had the same smell as prison cleaner sweat and sadness. Keisha led me through a narrow hallway. We have 7 beds. You're in room 4 with Tanya and Mai. Shared bathroom down the hall. Kitchen's communal, you cook for yourself, but we all eat dinner together on Sundays. House rules are posted on the fridge. Break them, and you're out. Questions? No, ma'am. She stopped, turned to look at me. You don't have to call me ma'am. I'm not a CO. I'm not your parole officer. I'm just someone who's been where you are. Got out, fell back in, got out again. Been clean 3 years this time. She paused. This place, it's not a hotel. It's not rehab. It's just a place where people like us try not to fuck up long enough to build something real. You understand? I think so. Good. Room 4 is upstairs. The room was barely bigger than my prison cell. 3 twin beds, 3 small dressers, 1 window with bars on the outside. Tanya was sprawled on one bed, scrolling through a phone. She looked young, late 20s, maybe white, with bleached hair showing dark roots and tired eyes. New fish, she asked without looking up. Elena. Tanya, check fraud. 3 years. You vehicular manslaughter. 9 years. That made her look up. Damn, DUI? Yeah. That's rough. She went back to her phone. Mai's at work. She's cool, doesn't talk much. Vietnamese girl embezzled from her family's business. They disowned her. Where's she work? Laundromat on Blackstone. Pays shit, but it's legal and they don't ask questions. Tanya glanced at me again. You got a job lined up? Not yet. I have 3 weeks. She laughed, sharp and bitter. Good luck with that. Nobody wants to hire a felon, especially not someone who killed somebody. I flinched. Tanya caught it. Sorry, I'm not trying to be a bitch, just telling you how it is. I've been here 4 months and I've applied to maybe 100 places. I got 2 interviews. Both ended when they ran the background check. She sat up. You got family. Someone who can help. I have a son, but he lives with my ex-husband. How old? 14 now. He was 5 when I went in. Tanya went quiet. Then, does he remember you? The question hit like a fist. I don't know. That night I lay in the narrow bed staring at the ceiling, listening to Tanya snore softly and Mai breathe in her sleep. The ankle monitor pressed against my bone. My phone, a cheap prepaid one Officer Ortega had issued, sat on the dresser silent. I hadn't called David yet. Hadn't asked to see Mateo. Didn't know if I was allowed. Didn't know if Mateo would want to see me. 9 years. He'd been a little boy when I left. Gap-toothed, obsessed with trucks, calling me Mama in his high, sweet voice. Now he was 14. A teenager. Did he still like trucks? Did he play sports? Was he good at math? Did he have friends? Did he remember my face? I rolled over, pulled the thin blanket up to my chin, and let the tears come quietly. In prison, you learned not to cry loud. Crying loud made you a target. Here I was still learning the rules. 21 days to find a job. I started the next morning. The library had free internet and computers for public use. I spent 6 hours there filling out applications. Walmart, Target, McDonald's, Taco Bell gas stations, warehouses, cleaning services. Every single one asked the same question. Have you ever been convicted of a felony? I could lie. Some people did. But if they ran a background check, and they would, the lie would be worse than the truth. So I checked yes, and wrote in the explanation box vehicular manslaughter, willing to discuss. By the end of the day, I'd submitted 32 applications. I got 3 responses. 2 were auto-rejections. Thank you for your interest, but we've decided to move forward with other candidates. The 3rd was from a fast food place. We require all employees to have reliable transportation. Unfortunately, we cannot accommodate your situation at this time. My situation. They meant the ankle monitor, the suspended driver's license, the fact that I couldn't drive and the buses didn't run late enough for closing shifts. I deleted the email and kept searching. Days blurred together. Wake up, apply for jobs, eat ramen because it was cheap, check in with Officer Ortega, who looked at me with the dead-eyed efficiency of someone who'd seen 1,000 women like me and knew most would fail. Come back to Redemption House. Lie in bed. Repeat. 2 weeks in, I got my first interview. It was at a call center cold calling people to sell them insurance they didn't want. The manager was a tired-looking white man in his 50s who barely looked at my resume. So, vehicular manslaughter. He said it like he was reading a grocery list. Yes, sir. I served my full sentence. I'm on parole now following all conditions. How do I know you won't drink on the job? I don't drink anymore, sir. I completed an alcohol treatment program in prison. You killed someone because you were drunk. The words hung in the air. Yes, sir, I did, and I've spent 9 years living with that. I'm not asking you to forget what I did. I'm just asking for a chance to prove I'm not that person anymore. He stared at me for a long moment. Then, I'll be honest with you, Ms. Vasquez. I can't hire someone with your record. Too much liability. If something happened, if you relapsed, or if a customer found out, it would reflect badly on the company. I understand. I didn't cry until I got back to the bus stop. 3 weeks in, I was down to 4 days before my deadline. Officer Ortega had made it clear no job means violation of parole. Violation means back to prison. I was sitting on the front steps of Redemption House staring at my phone when Keisha sat down next to me. You found work yet? No. You running out of time? 4 days. She was quiet for a moment. Then, there's a food bank, Second Harvest. They hire people like us. The pay is shit, $15.50 an hour, but it's legal and the boss doesn't care about records. You interested? I looked at her. Why are you telling me this? Because I've been watching you. You don't complain. You don't make excuses. You just keep trying. That's rare. She stood up. Most women who come through here, they give up after the first week. They go back to what they know, drugs, bad men, whatever got them locked up in the first place. But you're different. You're fighting. So I'm going to help you fight. My throat tightened. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. The job's hard. Sorting donated food lifting boxes, standing on concrete for 8 hours. And the people you'll be serving, some of them look at you like you're trash. But it's a job, and sometimes that's all we get. That night I lay in bed with the cheap phone in my hand. I'd been putting it off for 3 weeks, but I couldn't wait any longer. I pulled up David's number, the same number he'd had 9 years ago. My thumb hovered over the call button. What would I say? Hi, it's me, the woman who killed someone and abandoned your son. Can I see him? I pressed call before I could change my mind. It rang 4 times. Then his voice, hello, older, deeper, but still David. It's Elena. Silence. Long enough that I thought he'd hung up. Then I know. Parole office notified me you'd be released. I want to see Mateo. Elena, please. I know I don't deserve it. I know I hurt him, but he's my son. I just want to see him. Just once. More silence. I heard voices in the background. A woman's voice, high and cheerful. Stephanie. the woman David had married 2 years after I went to prison. "Mateo doesn't want to see you." The words were a knife. "Did you ask him?" "I don't have to ask him. He made it clear years ago. He was a child years ago. He's 14 now. Maybe what? Maybe he's magically forgiven you, Elena. You weren't there. You didn't see what it did to him when you left." He stopped talking for 6 months. He had nightmares. He drew pictures of car crashes. Do you have any idea what that was like? "I know, David, I know. But yet, there's no but. You made a choice. You got drunk, you drove, you killed someone, and Mateo paid the price. I didn't choose to go to prison. I made a mistake. A mistake that took 9 years of his life. He doesn't remember you, Elena. He doesn't remember your voice, your face, anything. Stephanie is his mother now. She's the one who raised him. And I won't let you come in and destroy what we've built." "I'm not trying to destroy anything. I'm just trying to—" "Goodbye, Elena." The line went dead. I sat there, phone in hand, staring at nothing. Tanya was out. Mai was asleep. The house was silent, except for the hum of the old AC unit. "He doesn't remember you." I'd known. Of course I'd known. But hearing David say it out loud, made it real in a way it hadn't been before. My son didn't remember me. I was a stranger to him. I lay back on the bed and stared at the ceiling until the sun came up. The Second Harvest Food Bank was a massive warehouse on the south side of Fresno, surrounded by semi-trucks and forklifts and the constant hum of activity. I stood outside the office door, my hand hovering over the handle, trying to calm my breathing. This is it. Last chance. I knocked. "Come in." The man behind the desk was Vietnamese, late 30s, with close-cropped hair and the kind of stillness that came from military training. He looked up from his computer and smiled. "Elena Vasquez." "Yes, sir." "Tommy Nguyen, have a seat." He gestured to a folding chair. "Keisha called, said you're looking for work." "Yes, sir. I should be up front. I have a felony record, vehicular manslaughter. I just got out 3 weeks ago. I understand if that's a problem." Tommy held up a hand. "Stop. I know. Keisha told me, and I don't care." I blinked. "You don't—" "Nope." He leaned back in his chair. "I'm a veteran. Marines. Did 2 tours in Afghanistan. Came back with PTSD and a head full of things I wish I could forget. This country didn't give a shit about me when I got back. No job, no support, just a lot of thank you for your service and a pat on the back." He paused. "I ended up homeless for 6 months, living under a bridge, drinking myself to death, until someone at a food bank gave me a hot meal and told me I was worth saving." He met my eyes. "Everyone deserves to eat. Everyone deserves a second chance, including you. So if you want the job, it's yours. $15.50 an hour, 30 hours a week, sorting and packing food donations. You start Monday." I couldn't speak. My throat was too tight. "Thank you," I finally managed. "Thank you so much." "Don't thank me. Just show up on time and work hard. That's all I ask." I walked out of that office and sat on the curb, my hands shaking. For the first time in 9 years, I felt something other than emptiness. I felt hope. Monday morning. I arrived at Second Harvest at 7:45 a.m., 15 minutes early. Tommy was already there unloading a delivery truck with 2 other workers. "Elena, good, you're here. Grab some gloves from the bin and meet me in the back." The work was exactly what Keisha had described, hard, physical, repetitive. Sorting canned goods by expiration date, packing boxes for distribution, lifting 50-pound bags of rice. My back ached. My feet throbbed. My hands cramped. I loved it. Because it was real. It was purpose. It was something other than sitting in a cell counting the days, wondering if my son remembered my face. At lunch, I sat outside on the loading dock eating the peanut butter sandwich I'd packed. Tommy came out carrying a thermos of coffee. "How you holding up?" "Good. Tired, but good." He sat down next to me. "You get used to it. The physical part, anyway." He poured coffee into the thermos cap and handed it to me. "The mental part takes longer." "What do you mean, forgiving yourself?" He stared out at the parking lot. "I killed a kid in Afghanistan. Didn't mean to. It was an airstrike, collateral damage, but that doesn't change the fact that I called in the coordinates. I pulled the trigger, and a 9-year-old boy died." I went very still. "I thought about killing myself every day for 2 years," Tommy continued. Thought it would be easier, fairer. Like, if I died, maybe it would balance the scales, you know. He took a sip of coffee. But then I realized something. Dying is easy. Living is hard. And if I really wanted to honor that kid, I had to live. I had to carry what I did and use it to be better. How do you do that? My voice was barely a whisper. How do you carry something like that? One day at a time, one good thing at a time. You can't erase what you did, but you can build something new on top of it. He looked at me. You killed someone. That's true. But you can also feed 100 people today. Both things are true. You get to decide which one defines you. We sat in silence, watching trucks come and go. Finally, Tommy stood. Break's over. Let's get back to it. That night I lay in bed and thought about what he'd said. You get to decide which one defines you. For 9 years, I'd let the worst night of my life be the only thing that mattered. I was Elena Vasquez, the woman who killed Victor Brennan, the drunk driver, the murderer. But maybe I could be something else too. Maybe I could be Elena Vasquez, the woman who fed hungry people. Maybe I could be Elena Vasquez, the woman who didn't give up. Maybe I could be Elena Vasquez, the mother who fought like hell to see her son again. I fell asleep with that thought. And for the first time in 9 years, I didn't dream about the crash. 2 weeks into my job at Second Harvest, I came home to find an envelope on my bed. Plain white, no return address. My name written in handwriting I hadn't seen in 9 years. My hands shook as I opened it. Elena, I don't know if you'll read this. I don't even know if this address is right. I had to call 5 halfway houses before I found the one you're staying at. But I had to try. It's been 9 years. 9 years of waiting. 9 years of wondering if you were okay, if you hated me, if you ever thought about me. The lawyers told me not to write. Your family told me to move on. Everyone said it was over. But I never stopped loving you. I know what you did. I know you went to prison. I know you think I should hate you for it. But I don't. I can't. Because I know who you are. And I know that night wasn't who you are. If you want to see me, I'll drive up from LA. Anytime. Anywhere. Just say the word. I'm still here. I've always been here. I read it 3 times. Then I folded it carefully, put it back in the envelope and hid it under my mattress. Because I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't know if I deserved it. And I didn't know if loving Issa, if admitting I'd loved her 9 years ago, that I'd been driving to see her the night of the crash would destroy the last fragile thread connecting me to my son. So I did what I'd always done. I kept the secret. 3 weeks into the job, Tommy asked me to help inventory the walk-in freezer. We were sorting through boxes of frozen vegetables when he said casually, "You ever look up the guy you hit?" I froze my hands mid-reach for a box of peas. "What, Victor Brennan, the man who died? You ever look him up? Read about him?" "No, my lawyer told me not to. Said it would make things worse if I seemed obsessed or something." Tommy nodded slowly. "I looked him up." My heart stopped. "Why?" "Because I wanted to know who you killed." He pulled out his phone, pulled up a saved article, and handed it to me. "Read this." My hands shook as I took the phone. The article was from the Fresno Bee, dated 3 days after the crash. Victim in fatal hit and run had violent past. Victor Brennan, 52. The man killed in a vehicular collision on Highway 99 last Tuesday had a documented history of domestic violence. Court records show Brennan was arrested twice for assault against his ex-wife Naomi Brennan and was under an active restraining order at the time of his death. Police found a loaded handgun in Brennan's vehicle parked half a mile from the crash site. Security footage from a nearby gas station shows Brennan purchasing the weapon hours before the collision. Naomi Brennan could not be reached for comment. I read it twice, 3 times. The words swam. He was going to kill her, I whispered. "Maybe," Tommy said quietly. "We don't know for sure, but yeah, that's what it looks like." I handed the phone back, my hands numb. "Why didn't anyone tell me?" "Because it doesn't change the fact that you were over the legal limit. It doesn't change the fact that he's dead. The law doesn't care about what might have happened. It only cares about what did happen." "But my voice cracked. "I might have saved her. I might have, or he might have been walking home, or he might have changed his mind. You don't know. You'll never know." Tommy put a hand on my shoulder. "What you do know is that you made a choice to drive drunk. That was real. But you also need to know that the man you killed wasn't innocent. He wasn't some saint cut down in his prime. He was a violent man with a gun walking toward his ex-wife's house in the middle of the night. I couldn't breathe. "Does that make it okay?" I asked. "No, but it makes it complicated. And complicated is closer to the truth than the story you've been telling yourself." That night I couldn't sleep. I kept seeing Victor Brennan's face in the dark, except I'd never seen his face. I only knew him as a shape in the rain, a body on the pavement, a name on a court document. But now I knew more. He'd hurt people. He'd threatened people. He'd been walking with a gun toward the woman he'd once promised to love. And I'd stopped him, not on purpose, not because I was brave or good or heroic, but I'd stopped him. Did that make me less guilty? Or did it just make the whole thing more unbearable? I rolled over, pulled the blanket over my head, and waited for morning. It was a Tuesday morning, 3 weeks after I'd learned about Victor Brennan's past. I was sorting through a pallet of canned goods when Tommy called me to the front. "Elena, can you handle registration for a bit? Maria called in sick." Registration meant checking in the people who came for food, taking names, household size, verifying addresses. I'd never done it before. Tommy must have seen my hesitation. "You'll be fine. Just be kind. That's the only rule that matters here." The line was already forming when I sat down at the folding table. Families with children, elderly people with walkers, young men who looked away when I met their eyes ashamed to be here. I understood that shame. I'd lived with it for 9 years. "Next, please." An older woman stepped forward, white hair pulled back in a loose bun, pale skin deeply lined, eyes that had seen too much. She was maybe 60, maybe older, hard to tell. She wore a faded blue sweater despite the heat. "Name Naomi Brennan." My pen froze mid-word. I looked up. She was staring at me, not with anger, not with hatred, just looking, like she was trying to memorize my face. "You're her," she said softly. "Elena Vasquez." My mouth went dry. I'm not supposed to. I can't talk to you. My parole." "I know." She glanced around. No one was paying attention. "I'm not here to cause trouble. I needed to see you." "Why?" She leaned closer, her voice barely a whisper. "Because I need to say thank you." The world tilted. "What?" Victor was on his way to my house that night. He'd been calling me all day, threatening me. He had a gun. The police found it in his car. Her hands shook on the edge of the table. If he'd made it to my house, I couldn't breathe. "I've spent 9 years living with what I did," I said, my voice cracking. 9 years hating myself. "And you're telling me—" "I'm telling you that you saved my life." Tears ran down her weathered face. "I don't know if God put you there, or if it was just chance, or if it was just the universe being cruel and kind at the same time. But I'm alive because of you." I was drinking. I was reckless. If I hadn't been, then maybe Victor would have killed me. Maybe he would have killed himself. Maybe 100 other things. But what happened happened, and I'm here. And so are you. She reached across the table and took my hand. Hers was cold and thin. "I forgive you, Elena. I've forgiven you for a long time. I just didn't know how to tell you." I broke. Right there in front of 50 people waiting in line, I put my face in my hands and sobbed. Great heaving sobs that came from somewhere deep inside, somewhere I'd kept locked for 9 years. Naomi came around the table and put her arms around me. She smelled like lavender and old cotton, like someone's grandmother. "It's okay," she whispered. "It's okay to let it go." Tommy appeared concern on his face. "Elena," Naomi looked up at him. "She's fine. Just give us a minute." He nodded and guided the line to another table. When I could finally breathe again, Naomi pulled back and handed me a tissue from her purse. "I shouldn't have come," she said. "I know it's against the rules, but I had to. I've been carrying this for 9 years, too." "What do you mean, guilt?" "For being glad he was dead. For feeling relieved instead of sad. For knowing that the world is safer without him in it." She wiped her own eyes. "They say you're not supposed to speak ill of the dead. But Victor was a violent man. He hurt me for 15 years. And when I heard he was gone, I felt free. And then I felt guilty for feeling free. like I was a monster for being glad someone died. You're not a monster. Neither are you. We sat there in silence, two women bound by the worst night of both our lives. Finally, Naomi stood. I should go, but Elena, can I come back? Not for food, just to talk. I don't know if I'm allowed. Then we'll figure it out, because I think we both need this. She walked away, leaving me sitting at that folding table feeling like the ground had shifted beneath me. For 9 years I'd believed I was nothing but a killer, nothing but the worst thing I'd ever done. But maybe, just maybe, I was something else too. That night at Redemption House, I was washing dishes in the communal kitchen when I knocked Keisha's favorite mug off the counter. It shattered on the linoleum, blue ceramic everywhere. My heart stopped. Keisha came around the corner, saw the pieces, saw my face white with panic. I'm so sorry, I stammered. I didn't mean to. I'll replace it. Elena. Her voice was calm. It's okay. But it's your favorite. Your daughter gave it to you. I know. Keisha knelt down and started picking up the larger pieces. And it's broken. Things break. Doesn't mean I'm mad at you. I knelt down too, my hands shaking as I gathered shards. I can't do anything right. I can't even wash a fucking cup without— Hey! Keisha grabbed my wrist, stopping me. Look at me. I looked. Things break, she said again. People too. Doesn't mean they're worthless. Doesn't mean they can't be loved anyway. How do you do it? The words came out broken. How do you just keep going after everything you've been through? Keisha sat back on her heels. You want to know the truth? Some days I don't. Some days I wake up and think, today's the day I go back to using. Today's the day I give up. But then I get up anyway. I make coffee. I come downstairs. I see your face and Tanya's face and Mai's face. And I think, if I give up, who's going to make sure these women don't give up? You don't owe us that. No, but I owe it to myself. Because if I can help even one person make it, then maybe all the times I failed weren't for nothing. She squeezed my wrist gently. You're going to make it, Elena. I can see it in you. You've got something most people don't. What stubbornness, she smiled. You're too damn stubborn to quit. We finished picking up the pieces in silence. When the floor was clean, Keisha pulled me into a hug, the kind of hug that said, I see you. I know you and you're not alone. I cried into her shoulder. Not loud, hysterical sobs like with Naomi, just quiet tears. The kind that came when you were so tired of being strong. It's okay, Keisha murmured. You don't have to be okay all the time. I miss my son. I know. He doesn't remember me. Then you make new memories. What if he doesn't want to? Then you love him anyway, from a distance, the way we love everyone we can't reach. We stood there in that tiny, outdated kitchen with its peeling linoleum and flickering fluorescent light. Two women who'd lost everything. Two women who were trying to build something from the rubble. And for the first time since I'd gotten out, I didn't feel completely alone. That night I pulled Issa's letter from under my mattress. I'd read it so many times the creases were starting to tear. I knew every word by heart. I never stopped loving you. I'd been a coward for 9 years, hiding who I was, hiding who I loved, letting fear make every decision. But Naomi's words kept echoing. It's okay to let it go. I pulled out my phone and typed, Issa, it's Elena. I'm sorry I didn't reply sooner. I didn't know what to say. I still don't. But if you meant what you said in the letter, I'd like to see you. Not at the halfway house. There's a coffee shop on Blackstone called Lena's. Saturday at 2 p.m. I'll be the one who looks terrified. I hit send before I could change my mind. The reply came 2 minutes later. I'll be there. And Elena, you don't have to be terrified. Not with me. Saturday. I stood outside Lena's coffee house at 1:45 p.m., my hands sweating, my heart racing. I'd changed clothes 3 times that morning, finally settling on jeans and a plain gray t-shirt because everything else felt like I was trying too hard. A car pulled up. Silver Honda Civic. California plates. The driver's door opened. And there she was, Isabella Torres. 45 now, but she looked almost the same. Short hair new, she used to wear it long. Wearing slacks and a blazer like she'd come straight from work. Confident in a way she hadn't been 9 years ago. She saw me, stopped. For a long moment we just stared at each other across the parking lot. Then she walked toward me. Elena? Issa. And then we were hugging, and I was crying again. God, when had I become someone who cried so much, and she was holding me like I was something precious instead of something broken? You're here, I whispered into her shoulder. You're really here. I told you I would be. She pulled back her hands on my shoulders, studying my face. You look tired. I am tired. But you look alive, more alive than the last time I saw you. The last time she'd seen me had been through prison glass, talking on phones with a 30-minute time limit. She'd visited 3 times in the first year. Then David had found out and threatened to use it against me in custody proceedings. So I'd told her to stop coming. I'd thought she'd be angry. Instead, she'd written letters, every month for 9 years, and I'd never replied. I'm sorry, I said, for everything, for not writing back, for stop. She cupped my face. We have a lot to talk about, but first let's get coffee. Inside, we sat in a corner booth. She ordered an Americano. I ordered tea because coffee made me too jittery these days. Tell me everything, Issa said. How are you really? So I did. I told her about Redemption House, about Second Harvest and Tommy, about the ankle monitor and Officer Ortega, and the crushing reality of trying to rebuild a life when everyone saw you as a criminal. I told her about David's phone call, about Mateo not remembering me. I don't know what to do, I said finally. I want to see him, but David won't let me, and I don't even know if Mateo wants to see me. Maybe it's better if I just stay away. Let him have the life he's built. Do you really believe that? I don't know what I believe anymore. Issa reached across the table and took my hand. I know you, Elena. You're not someone who gives up. You're not someone who walks away from the people you love. I walked away from you. No, you protected yourself. There's a difference. She squeezed my hand. And I never blamed you for it. You had to survive. I understood that. How did you wait 9 years? She smiled sad and beautiful. Because loving you was the easiest thing I ever did, even when you weren't there. My throat tightened. I don't deserve you. Maybe not, but you've got me anyway. We sat in silence for a moment. Then Issa said quietly, There's something I need to tell you, something I should have told you 9 years ago. What about your lawyer, the one who represented you at trial? His name was Richard Moss. Yeah, public defender. No, Issa looked down at her coffee. He wasn't public. I hired him. I stared at her. What did? I paid $30,000 for him. It was all my savings. I didn't tell you because I knew you'd refuse. But Elena, you were looking at 15 to 20 years. The public defender wanted you to take a plea deal for 12. I couldn't let that happen. I couldn't process it. You spent your life savings on me. It wasn't my life savings. It was just money. And you're worth more than money. But I still got 9 years. You would have gotten 15 without him. He's the one who argued for vehicular manslaughter instead of second-degree murder. He's the one who got the judge to consider your lack of prior record. He saved you 6 years, Elena. I pulled my hand back. Why didn't you tell me? Because love isn't about keeping score. It's about showing up. She met my eyes. I'm not telling you now because I want credit. I'm telling you because you need to know that you've never been as alone as you think you are. I put my head in my hands. I don't know how to do this. Do what? Let myself be loved. Let myself be anything other than the woman who killed someone. Then let me teach you. Issa slid out of her side of the booth and sat next to me. She put her arm around my shoulders. You don't have to figure it all out today. You just have to let me be here. Can you do that? I leaned into her. She smelled like coffee and some kind of floral perfume, like coming home. I can try. That's all I'm asking. We spent 3 hours in that coffee shop, talking, remembering, rebuilding. When we finally left, Issa walked me to the bus stop. Can I see you again? She asked. Yes, but Issa, I'm not ready to come out, publicly. I can't risk it. If David finds out, he'll use it against me. He'll say I'm an unfit mother, that I'm, hey, she touched my face. I don't need you to come out. I don't need you to introduce me to anyone. I just need you to let me love you, in whatever way you can handle. Okay. She kissed my forehead. Text me, anytime. I'm 3 hours away, but I'll drive up whenever you need me. You'd really do that? Elena, I've been doing it for 9 years. Why would I stop now? Tuesday morning, 9 a.m., Officer Ortega's office. I sat across from her desk, my hands folded in my lap, trying to look calm. She typed something into her computer without looking up. How's the job? Good. I'm working 30 hours a week at Second Harvest. Pay stubs. I handed them over. She glanced at them, made a note. You've been there a month. No complaints from your employer. No, ma'am. Random breathalyzer. She pulled out the device. Blow. I did. Clean as always. She noted it. Then she looked at me. Really looked at me for the first time since I'd sat down. You're doing better than most. Thank you. Don't thank me. It's an observation, not a compliment. She leaned back. Most people who come through here, they fail within 6 months. They go back to using. They violate curfew. They stop showing up. But you're showing up. Why? Because I don't have a choice. Everyone has a choice. You're choosing to follow the rules. Why? I thought about Mateo, about Naomi, about Issa and Tommy and Keisha, about the fact that I was tired of being defined by the worst thing I'd ever done. Because I want to prove I'm more than my crime. Ortega studied me for a long moment. Then, my sister was a heroin addict, in and out of prison for 10 years. Every time she got out, she swore she was done. Every time she relapsed within 3 months. She paused. She died of an overdose 4 years ago. Fentanyl-laced heroin. She was 32. I went very still. I became a parole officer because I thought I could save people like her. But I can't. All I can do is enforce the rules and hope that some of you figure it out before it's too late. She looked at me. You remind me of her. The stubbornness, the guilt, the way you're trying so hard to be good that you're terrified to breathe wrong. I'm sorry about your sister. Me too. She closed my file. You're dismissed. See you Friday. I stood to leave. Vasquez. I turned. Keep showing up. 6 weeks into my release, David called. I almost didn't answer. His name on the screen made my stomach drop, but I answered on the 3rd ring. Hello, Elena, it's David. I know. A pause. Then Mateo wants to see you. My heart stopped. What? He's been in therapy. His therapist thinks it would be good for him to have closure or something. I don't know. I don't agree with it. But Stephanie thinks we should respect his choice. So you'll let me see him? Under supervision, at a public park, with me and Stephanie present. 1 hour. That's it. When? Saturday, 2 p.m., Woodward Park, by the playground. I'll be there. Elena. His voice hardened. If you upset him, if you make this worse, I'll make sure you never see him again. Understand? I understand. The line went dead. I sat on my bed, shaking. Tanya looked over from where she was scrolling on her phone. You okay? I'm going to see my son. Saturday took 1,000 years to arrive. I stood at the bus stop at noon wearing the only decent clothes I owned, jeans and a button-up shirt Keisha had given me. I'd bought a gift, a baseball jersey. San Francisco Giants. It had been Mateo's favorite team when he was 5. The bus ride took 40 minutes. I spent it staring out the window, trying to breathe. What if he hates me? What if he cries? What if he looks at me like I'm a stranger, because I am a stranger? Woodward Park was massive acres of grass, playgrounds, picnic areas. Families everywhere. Children laughing. The kind of normal, happy Saturday I hadn't experienced in 9 years. I found the playground. Saw David standing under a tree. Stephanie next to him, a white woman in her 30s wearing a sundress looking like she belonged in a Hallmark movie. And next to them, Mateo. Tall. So tall. When had he gotten so tall? He was almost as tall as David, now gangly in the way of teenage boys who were still growing into their limbs. Wearing a black hoodie despite the heat. Hands shoved in his pockets, looking at the ground. I walked toward them. My legs felt like water. David saw me first. His face was carefully neutral. Elena. David, Stephanie. I nodded at her. She gave me a tight smile. Then I looked at Mateo. He didn't look up. Hi, baby. He flinched at the word. Finally lifted his eyes to meet mine. Brown eyes. My eyes. But everything else was David the strong jaw, The dark hair, the serious expression. He looked at me like I was a stranger, because I was. "Hi," he said, flat, emotionless. "Can we sit?" I gestured to a nearby bench. He looked at David. David nodded. We walked to the bench and sat down, leaving 3 feet of space between us like I was contaminated. I pulled the gift bag from my backpack. "I got you something." He took it reluctantly, pulled out the jersey, stared at it. "I don't like baseball anymore." The words were a knife. "Oh, okay. What do you like now?" "I don't know." He shoved the jersey back in the bag. "Why are you here?" "Because you're my son. I've been waiting 9 years to see you." "You killed someone because you were drinking. Dad says you're an alcoholic." I glanced at David. He looked away. "I'm not an alcoholic. I made a terrible mistake, but I'm not that person anymore." "How do I know that you could drink again? You could hurt someone again." "I won't." "That's what addicts say, and then they do it anyway." I didn't know what to say. He was 14, but he sounded older, harder, like he'd already decided who I was. "Mateo, I know I can't fix the past. I can't give you back the 9 years I missed. But I'm here now, and I want to be in your life, if you'll let me." He finally looked at me. Really looked. And what I saw in his eyes was worse than anger. It was nothing. No recognition. No love. No hate. Just emptiness. "I don't need a mom. I have Stephanie. She actually shows up." He stood up and walked back to David and Stephanie. I sat there, the baseball jersey still in the bag, my hands shaking. David came over. Stephanie had her arm around Mateo's shoulders. He was crying silently. "I think that's enough for today," David said quietly. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to upset him." "I know, but this was a mistake. He's not ready." "When will he be ready?" "I don't know. Maybe never." He walked away. I sat on that bench for 20 minutes after they left. Families played around me. Children laughed on the swings. The sun beat down, and I thought maybe some things are too broken to fix. I showed up to work Monday with dead eyes. Tommy took one look at me and said, "Break, now." We climbed up onto the roof of the Second Harvest warehouse, something he did sometimes when he needed air. The view wasn't much, just flat Fresno sprawl, warehouses and strip malls and distant mountains. But the sky was enormous. We sat on the edge, legs dangling, watching the sun sink toward the horizon. "You saw your son," Tommy said. It wasn't a question. "Yeah. How'd it go?" "He doesn't remember me. He doesn't want to remember me." That must have hurt. It did. We sat in silence. The sky turned orange, then pink, then deep purple. Finally, Tommy said, "The kid I killed in Afghanistan. His name was Zaire. I didn't know that until later. Didn't know he was 9. Didn't know he liked to play soccer. Didn't know his mom made bread every morning. I just knew coordinates, just knew a target." He picked at a loose piece of roofing. "After I got back, I looked up his family. Found them through an NGO. They wouldn't talk to me. Why would they? I killed their son. But I read about him, learned about him, tried to know him even though it was too late. Why? Because if I didn't, then he was just collateral damage, just a number. And he deserved to be more than that." He looked at me. "Your son doesn't remember you. That's not your fault. But it doesn't mean you stop trying. It means you build new memories, even if he never loves you back. Even if he always sees you as the woman who wasn't there. You love him anyway? How do you love someone who doesn't want you? The same way you carry guilt. One day at a time. One breath at a time." He stood, offered me his hand. "Come on, let's get back to work." I took his hand, and we climbed down from the roof. 2 weeks after seeing Mateo, I came back to Redemption House to find Officer Ortega waiting in the living room. My blood went cold. "Officer Ortega, is everything okay? We need to talk in private." She led me to the small office Keisha used, closed the door. "Sit." I sat. She pulled out her phone, opened something, turned the screen to face me. It was a text conversation. Between me and Issa. "Issa, I miss you. Can I see you this weekend?" "Me, yes. Saturday, same place." "Issa, can't wait. I love you. Me, I love you too." My stomach dropped. "Who is Isabella Torres?" Ortega asked. "A friend." "A friend you're in love with." I couldn't lie. The evidence was right there. "Yes." Were you in a relationship with her before your arrest? Yes. Where were you going the night of the accident? My mouth went dry. To see her. So you lied. In court, you said you were driving home. I didn't lie. I just didn't tell the whole truth. That's called lying, Ms. Vasquez. Ortega set her phone down. Withholding information in a court case can be considered perjury, and perjury is a felony, which means you're in violation of parole. Please, it wasn't relevant to the case. I was over the limit. That's what mattered. The rest was private, personal, irrelevant. Ortega's voice was sharp. You were driving to see your lover while married. You were drinking. You killed someone, and you hid the full story. How is that irrelevant? Because if I'd told the truth, my husband would have used it against me. He would have taken my son. He would have painted me as a cheating, irresponsible. You were irresponsible. The words hung in the air. I had no defense. I have to report this, Ortega said. I have to recommend revocation of parole. No, please, I'll do anything. You'll what promise to be honest from now on. You've been lying for 9 years. Why should I believe you now? Because I'm trying. Because I've followed every rule. Because I've shown up. You said it yourself, I'm doing better than most. That doesn't erase the lying. I stood up, my hands shaking. I know I lied. I know I hid the truth. But I did it because I was terrified. I was terrified of losing my son, of being judged, of everyone knowing I was gay. The word hit like a slap. Yes, I was terrified of everyone knowing I'm gay. Because my family is Catholic. Because David's family is Catholic. Because I didn't know if I could survive prison and lose my son. Tears streamed down my face. So I hid. I've been hiding my whole life. And you're right, that makes me a liar. But it doesn't make me a criminal. It makes me a coward. Ortega was silent for a long moment. Then she said quietly, I have 48 hours to file my report. You have 48 hours to give me a reason not to. What reason could I possibly give? That's up to you. She walked out. I called Issa that night, sobbing so hard I could barely speak. Elena, what's wrong? My parole officer found out. About us. About the night of the accident. She's going to report me. I'm going back to prison. Slow down. Tell me exactly what happened. I told her everything. The texts, Ortega's accusations, the 48-hour deadline. When I finished, Issa was quiet for a long time. Then come out. What, come out publicly? Tell the truth. All of it. About me, about that night, about why you hid it. Tell your parole officer. Tell David. Tell Mateo. I can't. If I do, David will then. David will what hate you. He already does. Take Mateo away. He already has. Elena, you've been protecting yourself from consequences that have already happened. You have nothing left to lose. I have you. You'll always have me. But you'll never have yourself until you stop hiding. I'm scared. I know. But hiding didn't save you 9 years ago. And it won't save you now. Her voice softened. You once told me you wanted Mateo to grow up brave. How can he learn that if you're not brave yourself? I closed my eyes. What if I lose everything? Then you lose everything, but at least you'll lose it as yourself. I spent the next day writing a letter to Officer Ortega, to David, to Mateo, to everyone. My name is Elena Vasquez. 9 years ago, I killed Victor Brennan in a car accident. I had been drinking. I was distracted. I was reckless. I pled guilty. I served my sentence. I thought that was the end of the story. But there's more. The night of the accident, I was driving to see Isabella Torres, a woman I loved, a woman I'd been in a relationship with for 2 years while I was married to my husband David. I didn't tell the court this. I didn't tell the police. I didn't tell anyone except my lawyer, who advised me not to mention it because it would complicate the case. But the truth is, I was a coward. I hid my relationship with Issa because I was terrified of being judged. Terrified of my Catholic family disowning me. Terrified of David using my sexuality against me to take Mateo. So I pled guilty to manslaughter and went to prison. And I let everyone believe I was just a drunk driver who made a mistake. But I was more than that. I was a closeted queer woman who was so desperate to escape her life that she got in a car after drinking and killed someone. I can't undo that. But I can stop lying about it. To Officer Ortega, I violated parole by withholding information. I understand if you revoke my parole. But I'm done hiding. To David, I'm sorry I lied to you. I'm sorry I hurt you. But I won't apologize for loving Isa. I only apologize for not having the courage to be honest sooner. To Mateo, I know you don't remember me. I know you think I abandoned you. But the truth is, I gave up 9 years of my life trying to protect you from who I really am. That was wrong. You deserved to know the truth. You deserved a mother who was brave enough to be herself. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm just asking to be seen. I printed 3 copies, put them in envelopes, addressed them. And then I asked Tommy if I could use his office. I need to make some calls. I called David first. Elena, what do you want? I need you to listen. Don't hang up, please. I read him the letter. Silence. Then, you were cheating on me with a woman. Yes. And you lied about it for 9 years. Yes. Jesus Christ, Elena. Do you have any idea? He stopped, breathed. Mateo asked me last week if he could see you again. My heart stopped. What? After that first visit, he couldn't sleep. He kept having nightmares. His therapist says he's struggling with, I don't know, unresolved feelings. Guilt about not remembering you. Fear that he's a bad son. David's voice cracked. He's 14 years old and he's cutting himself because he feels guilty about not loving his mother. I couldn't breathe. He asked me if you were a good person. Before the accident, I told him I didn't know anymore. David paused. But Stephanie said something. She said maybe Elena isn't good or bad. Maybe she's just human. David, I tried to have Mateo adopted by Stephanie 2 years after you went to prison. Did you know that? The words were a punch. No. I filed paperwork, claimed you'd abandoned him, that you'd given up your parental rights by not staying in contact. His voice was hollow. The petition was denied because you never signed the forms, but I tried. I tried to erase you from his life. Why are you telling me this? Because I'm tired of lying too. I told myself I was protecting Mateo, but really I was punishing you. And maybe I was punishing myself for not seeing what you were going through. Tears streamed down my face. I'm sorry. For all of it. I know. And I'm sorry too. He took a shaky breath. Mateo wants to see you again. This time without supervision. Just you and him. Are you sure? No. But Stephanie is. And maybe that's enough. I called Officer Ortega next. Vasquez. I'm coming in tomorrow. I have something to give you. Your confession. Yes. And then whatever happens, happens. A long pause. Then, see you at 9. I called Isa last. Did you do it? I did it. How do you feel? Terrified. Free. Both. I'm proud of you. Even if I go back to prison. Especially if you go back to prison. Because at least you'll go back as yourself. I smiled through tears. I love you. I love you too. And Elena? Yeah. No matter what happens, I'll be here. I've always been here. Friday morning, 9 a.m. Officer Ortega's office. I sat across from her desk, my hands folded in my lap. The envelope containing my confession letter sat between us. Ortega hadn't opened it yet. Before I read this, she said, I want to tell you something. About my sister. I stayed quiet. Her name was Carmen. She got arrested the first time when she was 19. Possession. Small amount, but enough for a felony. She did 6 months. Got out. Relapsed within 2 months. Ortega stared at the envelope. She went through this cycle 4 times. In and out. In and out. Every time she swore she was done. Every time I believed her. What happened? The last time she got out, she stayed with me. I watched her like a hawk. Made her go to meetings. Got her a job. Thought I was helping. Ortega's voice cracked slightly. She overdosed in my bathroom while I was at work. Fentanyl-laced heroin. She was dead for 3 hours before I found her. I'm sorry. I became a parole officer because I thought I could save people like her. Thought if I was strict enough, if I enforced the rules hard enough, I could force people to stay clean, to stay out of trouble. She finally looked at me. But all I did was make their lives harder. I couldn't save Carmen, and I can't save you. The only person who can save you is you. She opened the envelope, read the letter in silence. When she finished, she set it down and removed her glasses to rub her eyes. "This changes things," she said quietly. "I know. I have to report this to my supervisor. She'll decide whether to revoke your parole. I understand." "But Elena," she met my eyes. "In 20 years, I've never seen anyone do what you just did. Voluntarily confess to withholding information. Risk everything just to tell the truth." She paused. "I don't know if it'll matter, but for what it's worth, I'm going to recommend they let you stay out." My throat tightened. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet. My supervisor is less sympathetic than I am. Saturday, 2 p.m. David had suggested a neutral location, the food bank where I worked. Tommy had offered to let us use the break room private, but not isolating. I arrived early, my stomach in knots. At exactly 2 p.m., David's car pulled up. Mateo got out alone. David stayed in the car. Mateo walked toward me, hands shoved in his hoodie pockets, looking at the ground. He'd gotten taller even in the 2 weeks since I'd last seen him. "Hi," I said softly. "Hi. Your dad's not coming in." He said this should just be us. We went inside. Tommy nodded at me from across the warehouse, but didn't approach. I led Mateo to the break room, a small space with a table, 2 chairs, a microwave, and a fridge covered in safety posters. We sat. The silence stretched. Finally, Mateo said, "Dad told me you called. He said you told him something. About the night it happened." "I did." "He wouldn't tell me what. He said I should hear it from you." I took a deep breath. "The night of the accident, I was driving to see someone, a woman named Isabella. We were in a relationship. I was going to break up with her because your dad had found out and threatened to take you away from me. I forced myself to keep going. I'd been drinking, not a lot, but enough to be over the limit. And when the accident happened, I hid the full truth. I didn't tell the court I was going to see Isa because I was scared of being judged, scared of losing you." Mateo stared at the table. "So you're gay?" "Yes." "And you were cheating on Dad?" "Yes." He was quiet for a long time. "Then, why didn't you just tell him? Why didn't you just leave?" "Because I was a coward. I was raised Catholic. My family would have disowned me, and I was terrified of what people would think. So I hid. I married your dad even though I knew deep down it wasn't fair to him, and I stayed even when I shouldn't have. Did you ever love him?" "I cared about him, but no, not the way you're supposed to love someone you marry." "Did you love me?" The question broke me. "Yes. God, yes. You were the only good thing I'd ever done, the only thing that made sense. Then why did you leave?" "I didn't leave. I went to prison." "That's not the same thing." "It felt the same." His voice was small. "One day you were there, the next day you were gone. And everyone said you did something bad. And I didn't understand. I kept waiting for you to come back. But you never did. I wrote letters, every week for the first year. Your dad wouldn't give them to you." Mateo's head snapped up. "What and?" "He told me it was better if I stayed away, let you move on, so I stopped writing. He told me you didn't want to talk to me, that you'd moved on." I closed my eyes. "Your dad was trying to protect you, in his own way, by lying. Parents lie sometimes, when they think it's the right thing, when they're scared." Mateo was quiet again. Then in a voice barely above a whisper, "I don't remember you." "I know. I don't remember your voice, or your face, or if you sang to me or read to me or anything. And everyone tells me stories about you, but they feel like stories about someone else. Like a stranger." Tears started running down his face. "And I feel so guilty, because I should remember, I should love you, but I don't. And that makes me a terrible person." I moved around the table and knelt in front of him. "Look at me, baby." He did. His face was wet, his eyes red. "You are not a terrible person. You were 5 years old. It's not your fault you don't remember. That's my fault. I'm the one who left. I'm the one who missed 9 years, and I can't get those years back. But we can start now. We can make new memories." "What if I never love you?" The words hurt, but I smiled through the pain. "Then I'll love you anyway, from a distance, for the rest of my life, because that's what mothers do." He broke, fell forward into my arms, and sobbed like the child he'd been when I left. I held him rocking slightly, whispering the things I should have been able to whisper for 9 years. It's okay. I'm here. I've got you. We sat on the floor of that break room for 20 minutes. When he finally pulled back, his face was blotchy, and his hoodie was soaked with tears. I have something to tell you, he said. Okay. I think I like boys, not girls. Boys. I stared at him. Of all the things I'd expected him to say, that wasn't it. How long have you known? A year, maybe. I don't know. I tried to tell Dad, but I got scared. He's so traditional. And Stephanie is nice, but she wouldn't understand. He looked at me. But if you're gay and you're still here, maybe it's okay. Maybe I'm not broken. I cupped his face. You are not broken. You are perfect. Exactly as you are. I'm scared. I know. Being queer is scary, especially in families like ours. But I promise you, you're not alone. You'll never be alone. Not anymore. He hugged me again, tighter this time. And for the first time in 9 years, I felt like a mother. That night David called. What did you say to him? The truth, about everything. He came home and told me he's gay. I know. Silence. Then, I don't know how to handle this. You love him. That's how you handle it. I don't know if I can. My family, my parents will. Then you choose him over them. The way I should have chosen honesty over fear. David was quiet for a long time. Stephanie wants to meet you. She thinks it would be good for Mateo, for all of us. I'd like that. Elena. Yeah. I'm sorry for trying to erase you, for lying to Mateo about the letters, for I know I forgive you. Why? Because holding on to anger is exhausting, and we've both been angry long enough. Monday morning, I was at work sorting cans of soup when Tommy came to find me. Elena, your parole officer's on the phone, says it's urgent. My blood went cold. I took the call in the office. Vasquez, we have a situation. What kind of situation? My supervisor read your confession. She wants you to come in, today. Bring your belongings from Redemption House. There's going to be a hearing. A hearing for what? To determine whether you violated parole by withholding information. If she decides you did, you go back to prison. Today. The world tilted. When 4 p.m., don't be late. Day, I told Tommy. He drove me back to Redemption House. I packed my things, which took all of 10 minutes because I owned almost nothing. Keisha found me in my room. You leaving? Maybe. Hearing at 4. If it goes bad, I'm going back. She sat on the bed next to me. You knew this might happen when you told the truth. I did. Any regrets? I thought about Mateo, about sitting on that break room floor holding him while he cried, about him telling me he was gay and trusting that I wouldn't reject him. No regrets. Keisha pulled me into a hug. Then you already won. At 3:45 p.m., I stood outside the parole office. Isa had driven up from L.A. She stood next to me holding my hand. I can come in with you, she said. They won't allow it. Then I'll wait outside, however long it takes. I kissed her, right there on the sidewalk, where anyone could see. I love you. I love you too. The hearing room was small and windowless. Officer Ortega sat at a table on one side. Her supervisor, a white woman in her 50s with steel gray hair and a permanent frown, sat next to her. A third person, a male parole officer I didn't recognize, sat at the end. I sat across from them, alone. The supervisor, Ms. Thompson, opened a folder and read aloud, Elena Vasquez, parolee number 374829, convicted of vehicular manslaughter, sentenced to 9 years, released 4 months ago. You are here because Officer Ortega filed a report stating that you withheld information during your original trial, specifically that you were driving to meet a romantic partner at the time of the accident, and that this information was relevant to the case. Is this correct? Yes, ma'am. Did you knowingly withhold this information? Yes, ma'am. Why? Because I was afraid. I was afraid of losing my son, afraid of my family, afraid of being judged for being queer. Withholding information in a criminal trial can constitute perjury. Perjury is a felony, which means you are in violation of your parole. Ms. Thompson looked at me over her glasses. Do you understand that this hearing will determine whether you return to custody? Yes, ma'am. Officer Ortega has submitted a recommendation. Do you wish to hear it? Yes, ma'am. Ms. Thompson nodded at Ortega. Ortega cleared her throat. I recommend Ms. Vasquez remain on parole with modified conditions. She has followed every other rule. She has maintained employment. She has passed all drug and alcohol tests. She voluntarily confessed to the withholding, which demonstrates growth and accountability. Sending her back to prison serves no rehabilitative purpose. Ms. Thompson made a note. Thank you. Ms. Vasquez, is there anything you wish to say? I stood. My legs shook. I lied. Not in court. I never lied in court. But I didn't tell the whole truth. I let people believe I was just a drunk driver, when really I was a closeted queer woman running away from a life that was suffocating me. My voice cracked. I'm not making excuses. I killed someone. That's on me. But I hid who I was for 9 years because I thought it would protect my son. Instead, it just hurt him more. I took a breath. 4 days ago, I told my son the truth. All of it. And instead of hating me, he told me he's gay too. He trusted me with the thing he's most scared of. And if I go back to prison now, I lose that. I lose the chance to be the mother I should have been. The mother who's brave enough to be herself. Tears ran down my face. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm asking you to let me keep trying. To let me prove that people can change. That second chances mean something. I sat down. Ms. Thompson was silent for a long time. Then she closed the folder. Ms. Vasquez, I've been in this job for 23 years. I've seen thousands of parolees. Most fail. Most lie. Most don't care about the rules or the people they hurt. She paused. You did something I've never seen. You risked everything to tell the truth. Not because you had to, because you chose to. She looked at Ortega, then at the third officer. Motion to revoke parole is denied. Ms. Vasquez will remain on parole with the following modified conditions: mandatory therapy, twice-monthly check-ins for the next 6 months, and continued employment. Additionally, Ms. Vasquez is permitted to maintain contact with Isabella Torres and is no longer prohibited from discussing her sexual orientation. I couldn't breathe. However, Ms. Thompson continued, if you violate any condition of your parole moving forward, there will be no second hearing. You will return to custody immediately. Do you understand? Yes, ma'am. Then you're dismissed. I stood on shaking legs. Ortega followed me out into the hallway. You got lucky. I know. Don't waste it. I won't. She almost smiled. See you Tuesday. Issa was waiting outside. When she saw my face, she knew. You're staying? I'm staying. She kissed me, right there in the parking lot. Not hiding, not ashamed. Just us. 2 weeks later, I got a call from David. Mateo wants to spend the day with you. Just the two of you. No supervision. Are you sure? No. But he is. And I trust him. Saturday. Mateo took the bus to meet me at Second Harvest. I'd gotten permission from Tommy to take the day off. Where do you want to go? I asked. I don't know. Somewhere normal? Where we can just talk. We ended up at the Fresno Chaffee Zoo. It was crowded families everywhere, kids running around. Mateo bought us tickets with money David had given him. We walked through the exhibits, not saying much at first, just existing in the same space. At the elephant habitat, Mateo finally spoke. Stephanie wants me to call her mom. Do you want to? I don't know. She raised me. She's been there for everything. But calling her mom feels like I'm erasing you. You're not erasing me. You can have 2 moms. Love isn't a competition. Dad doesn't think so. He thinks there should only be one. Your dad is scared. Of losing you, of change. But he'll come around. I paused. And if he doesn't, that's his loss, not yours. Mateo leaned on the railing watching the elephants. I told my therapist about you, about how you came out. She said it was brave. I don't feel brave. Well, you are. He looked at me. I want to be brave too. I want to tell Dad. Really tell him. Not just hint, but I'm scared he'll hate me. He won't hate you. He'll struggle. He'll probably say the wrong things. But he won't hate you. Because you're his son, and that matters more than anything. Did your family hate you when they found out he... I don't know. I never told them. I went to prison before I had the chance. Are you going to tell them now? I thought about it. Maybe, someday, when I'm ready. Will you be there when I tell Dad? If you want me to be. I do. We spent 6 hours at the zoo. We talked about school. He was good at math, hated English. About friends, he had a few, but felt like an outsider. About Stephanie, he loved her, but resented her. About the future, he wanted to go to college, maybe study engineering like David. And slowly, carefully, we started to remember each other. Not the mother and son we'd been 9 years ago, but the people we were now. That night, David called me. Mateo told me he wants you there when he comes out to me, officially. And I'm terrified. I don't know what to say. I don't know how to handle this. Then just listen. That's all he needs. Elena? Yeah. I looked you up. After you told me about Issa, I found articles about Victor Brennan, about what he was doing that night. I went still. Why didn't you ever tell me? David asked. Because it doesn't change anything. I was still drunk. I still killed someone. But it changes how I see it. It changes everything. Does it? Yeah, it does. He was quiet. I'm sorry. For all of it. For making you feel like you had to hide. For not seeing what you were going through. For blaming you for everything when I was part of the problem. We were both part of the problem. Yeah, we were. He took a breath. Stephanie wants to meet you, really meet you. Not just supervised visits. She wants to talk about Mateo, about co-parenting, about moving forward. I'd like that. Can you come to dinner next Saturday at our house? Your house, our house, Mateo's house, where he's been living, where you should have been able to visit years ago. My throat tightened. I'll be there. David and Stephanie lived in a modest 3-bedroom house in North Fresno. Neat lawn, basketball hoop in the driveway. The kind of suburban normalcy I'd never been able to give Mateo. I stood on the porch holding a bouquet of flowers, Issa's suggestion trying not to panic. Mateo answered the door. Hey, baby. He smiled, still shy, still unsure, but warmer than before. Come in, Stephanie's cooking. Dad's nervous. The house was exactly what I'd imagined. Family photos on the walls, Mateo at every age from 5 to 14. Stephanie and David's wedding photo. A few older photos of me and Mateo that I didn't even know existed. Stephanie came out of the kitchen wiping her hands on a towel. She was pretty in an unassuming way. Brown hair, kind eyes, a nervous smile. Elena, hi, I'm Stephanie. Hi, thank you for having me. Of course, I'm making enchiladas. Mateo said they're your favorite. I looked at Mateo. He shrugged. I remembered that, from when I was little. Something in my chest cracked open. Dinner was awkward at first. We made small talk whether Mateo's school my job. David was quiet, letting Stephanie lead the conversation. Finally, over dessert, Stephanie said, I want to be honest. I was jealous of you for years. I blinked. What's that? You were Mateo's mother, the one he asked about, the one he drew pictures of. And I was just the replacement, the woman his dad married. She looked down at her plate. I wanted him to love me. I wanted to be enough. But I always felt like I was competing with a ghost. You weren't competing. You were there. You showed up. That's what mattered. But I'm not his real mom. Yes, you are. I met her eyes. You raised him. You were there for every scraped knee, every bad dream, every parent-teacher conference. You're his mom in every way that counts. Tears welled in her eyes. Then what does that make you? His mom, too. He can have both of us. He deserves both of us. Stephanie reached across the table and took my hand. Thank you. Ted. After dinner, Mateo asked if we could all sit in the living room. I have something to tell you, he said, looking at David. All of you. David sat on the couch, Stephanie next to him. I sat in the armchair. Mateo stood in the middle, his hands shaking. I'm gay. The words hung in the air. David went very still. Stephanie reached for his hand. I've known for a while, Mateo continued, his voice shaking. And I tried to tell you, Dad, but I was scared. Scared you'd hate me. Scared you'd be ashamed. Scared I'd disappoint you. David stood up. Mateo flinched, but David just walked over and pulled him into a hug. You could never disappoint me, he said, his voice thick. You're my son. That's all that matters." Mateo broke down crying. Stephanie joined the hug. And I sat there watching the family Mateo had built, feeling grateful that he'd had them when I couldn't be there. A week later, I received a letter in the mail. Not from Isa, not from Mateo, from Naomi Brennan. "Dear Elena, I've been thinking about you since the day we met at the food bank. About what I said. About forgiveness. I want you to know something. Victor wasn't always a monster. When I married him, he was kind, funny, loving, but something broke in him over the years. Anger, control, violence. I tried to fix him. I tried to love him enough to change him. But you can't fix people who don't want to be fixed. The night he died, I was hiding in my closet with a baseball bat. He'd called 17 times. Left voicemails saying he was going to end this. I knew he meant me. I'd called the police, but they said they couldn't do anything until he actually showed up. So I waited. And then the police came. Not to arrest him. To tell me he was dead. I felt relief, and guilt, and grief, all at once. I know you carry guilt too, but I want you to know you didn't just take a life that night. You saved one, mine. I'm not asking you to stop feeling guilty. Guilt is how we remember, how we honor the weight of our actions. But I am asking you to forgive yourself enough to live, to build something good on top of the broken pieces. Thank you for being brave enough to come out, to tell the truth, to show your son that honesty matters more than fear. You're a better person than you think. With gratitude and love." Naomi, I read the letter 3 times. Then I folded it carefully and put it in my drawer next to Isa's letter and the photo of Mateo at age 4, the pieces of a life I was slowly rebuilding. 2 months later, on a random Tuesday, Tommy called me into his office. "Sit." I sat nervous. Had I done something wrong? "I'm promoting you." I stared at him. "What's a? You've been here 6 months. You show up on time. You work hard. You're kind to the people we serve. I'm making you assistant coordinator. 20-hour raise. 40 hours a week if you want them." "Tommy, I don't know what to say." "Say yes." "Yes. God, yes. Thank you." He smiled. "You earned it. Now get back to work." That night I called Isa. "I got promoted. That's amazing. I'm so proud of you. I want you to meet Mateo and David and Stephanie. I want to stop hiding." Silence. Then, "Are you sure?" "I'm sure. You've waited 9 years. You've loved me through prison and parole and all my fear. It's time I stopped being afraid." This weekend, Mateo's birthday. We're having a party at David's house. I want you there. "Elena, please, I want my son to meet the woman I love. I want to stop living like I'm ashamed of who I am." "Okay." Her voice was soft. "I'll be there." Mateo's 15th birthday party was small, just family. David, Stephanie, me, and Isa. Isa arrived with a gift, a book about queer history. When Mateo opened it, his eyes went wide. Thank you. Your mom told me you like history. I thought this might be interesting." Mateo looked at me, then at Isa, then back at the book. "You're the Isa from the letters Mom wrote in prison." "That's me." "Are you two together?" Isa looked at me. I nodded. "Yes," Isa said. "We are?" David cleared his throat. Stephanie elbowed him. He sighed. "Isa, it's nice to meet you, officially." "You too," Mateo grinned. "So I have a gay mom and a gay stepmom, is that what you call it?" I laughed. "Call her whatever feels right." "Cool, I have 2 gay moms. That's the most queer thing ever." Everyone laughed, even David. 10. Later, Mateo pulled me aside. "I like her, Isa. She's cool." "I'm glad. Are you going to marry her?" "I don't know. Maybe, someday." "I hope you do. You seem happy with her. Happier than I've ever seen you." I pulled him into a hug. "I love you, baby." "I love you too, Mom." It was the first time he'd called me that since I'd gotten out. I cried. At Ortega's suggestion, I started going to therapy. Dr. Sarah Kim was a Korean-American therapist in her 40s who specialized in trauma. She was the one who'd been working with Mateo, and she offered to take me on as a client, too. "Tell me about the accident," she said in our 3rd session. I told her everything: the rain, the wine, the phone call. "Isa, Victor Brennan in the road. Do you blame yourself? She asked. Every day. For what specifically? And for drinking, for driving, for killing him. Do you blame yourself for being queer? I paused. I used to. And now I don't know. I'm not ashamed of loving Issa. But I'm ashamed that I lied about it. Lying and hiding aren't the same thing. Hiding is survival. Lying is deception. She tilted her head. You hid your sexuality because you didn't feel safe. That's not a moral failing. That's a response to homophobia. But if I hadn't been hiding, maybe I wouldn't have been driving that night. Maybe 100 things. But maybe is not the same as what happened. You can't rewrite the past. You can only learn from it. She leaned forward. What did you learn? I thought about it. That hiding doesn't protect you. It just makes you smaller. Good. Hold on to that. 8 months into my release, Officer Ortega called me into her office. Vasquez, sit. I sat nervous as always. I'm recommending early termination of your parole. I stared at her. You've met every condition. You've exceeded expectations. You've been sober, employed, and honest for 8 months. The system is designed to punish, but sometimes it should reward. She slid a form across the desk. Sign this. If approved, your parole ends in 6 months instead of 3 years. Why are you doing this? Because you're proof that second chances work, and I need to remember that. She met my eyes. My sister didn't get a second chance, but you did. Don't waste it. I signed the form, my hand shaking. June, Pride Month. Fresno's Pride Parade was small compared to LA or San Francisco, but it was real. Rainbow flags everywhere. People dancing, singing, celebrating. Issa drove up from LA. We stood on the sidewalk watching the parade holding hands. And then I saw him, Mateo, walking in the parade with a group of LGBTQ+ teens, wearing a shirt that said Proud Queer Son. He saw me, waved. I waved back, tears streaming down my face. David and Stephanie stood a few feet away, watching. David looked uncomfortable, but he was there. That mattered. Naomi Brennan was there too, standing near the back. She caught my eye and smiled. Tommy was volunteering at a booth handing out water. Keisha and the women from Redemption House walked by in matching shirts, second chances. And Issa squeezed my hand. You did it. Did what? You survived. You rebuilt. You became yourself. I looked around at this community, this messy, beautiful, imperfect community that had held me when I was broken. I did it, I whispered. I really did. 2 years later, Mateo was 16, thriving in school, out and proud, splitting time between David's house and weekend visits with me and Issa. We'd moved in together. David had come around, slowly. He went to therapy, read books, joined a support group for parents of LGBTQ+ kids. He wasn't perfect, but he was trying. Stephanie and I had become friends, real friends, co-parents. Tommy promoted me to full coordinator at Second Harvest. I was making enough to support myself. Issa proposed on a random Tuesday. We got married at City Hall with Mateo, David, Stephanie, Tommy, Keisha, and Naomi as witnesses. My parole ended. Officer Ortega shook my hand and said, "You made it. I'm proud of you." But on the 2-year anniversary of my release, I visited Victor Brennan's grave. I'd never been before. Didn't know if I was allowed, but I went anyway. The headstone was simple, just his name and dates. I knelt in the grass, placed flowers, and whispered, I'm sorry for taking your life. I'm sorry for the pain I caused. I'm sorry I can never make it right." I paused. "But I want you to know I'm trying to live in a way that honors the weight of what I did. I'm trying to be better, to do better, and I hope wherever you are that counts for something." I stood to leave, and there, standing near the entrance to the cemetery, was Naomi. "I come here too," she said softly, "once a year, on the anniversary of his death." "Do you forgive him?" "No, but I don't hate him anymore either." She looked at me. Grief and relief can exist at the same time. So can guilt and peace. We stood together in silence. Then she said, "You're a good mother, Elena." Victor would have hated that, but I'm glad for it. We walked out of the cemetery together. Epilogue. Mateo got accepted to UC Berkeley. Full scholarship. He wanted to study social work. To help families like ours, he said. Isa and I bought a small house in Fresno. 2 bedrooms, one for us, one for Mateo when he visited. I kept working at Second Harvest, kept feeding hungry people, kept showing up. David remarried Stephanie in a small ceremony, renewing their vows, this time with Mateo as the officiant. Keisha celebrated 5 years sober. Tommy opened a support group for veterans with PTSD. Naomi became a volunteer at a domestic violence shelter. One evening, Mateo and I sat on the porch watching the sun set over Fresno. "Do you ever regret it?" he asked. "The accident, prison, all of it." "Every day. I'd give anything to undo it." "But if you did, we wouldn't be here. I wouldn't know you. You wouldn't have Isa. We wouldn't have this." I looked at him. "Are you saying there's a silver lining to killing someone?" "No. I'm saying terrible things can lead to good things. And good things don't erase the terrible. They just coexist." "When did you get so wise?" He grinned. "I have 2 gay moms. I had to learn something." I laughed, pulled him close, and we sat there as the sky turned orange, then pink, then deep purple. 2 people who'd found each other again. Not in the past, but in the present.